And it's really interesting talking about these yamas every week and kind of looking at the changes that I've had in my life, kind of from COVID, as well as just kind of living a more free life and linking it all together. So if you guys are just catching up on today and you've not been watching the previous lives, I've been talking about ahimsa, which means non-harming, and satya, which means non-lying. And today we're going to be looking at another yama, which is Asteya. And I remember when I did yoga teacher training and I was trying to remember all of these yamas and niyamas and all of this madness. Hiya! Well, the way I remembered Asteya was the word stay within it, and trying to remember this as non-stealing. So I wanted to stay. It's a bit of a silly way to try and remember something, but it worked for me. So yeah, the point of looking at these yamas is to kind of look at yoga philosophy, which I found really, really tricksy at the beginning of my yoga teacher training, and looking at how we can contextualize it into our sort of modern life as well as our modern yoga practice. Okay, so let's take a little delve into Asteya. So it basically means non-stealing. So that's quite, a simple concept, maybe. And I think we all understand that stealing is wrong. Okay, so I'm just zipping between the Facebook and the Instagram, so I'm not giving you attention, I'm just going between both. So we all understand that stealing is wrong. We kind of get this imprinted on us when we're little, and if you have spent time with toddlers recently, or even sometimes dogs, they always want what the other one has. So there's a lot of like constant stealing, and we always think that what the other person has is better. And we kind of understand now that if we steal, there's going to be pretty high repercussions and penalties, and that probably keeps us from stealing more than we normally would. But it doesn't mean that we've not stolen before. I reckon all of us have a deep, dark secret of a time when we were a kid and we've stolen something, something as small as a chocolate bar or even a cookie when your mum wasn't looking. I remember when I was really young, I think I was probably 8. A friend and myself, maybe we were older. Do you go to the shop when you're 8? I don't know. But we went to the shop and we just figured out makeup, and our mums wouldn't let us wear makeup. So we stole a couple lipsticks, and then we got back to my friend's house and we were looking at the lipsticks and trying them on. Anyways, friend's mum walked in and made us take the lipsticks back. That shamed me into ever doing proper stealing ever again. But I'm going to be kind of looking at sort of the more subtle and subversive ways of stealing, which we're probably all guilty for. So another thing that's interesting is we become attached to our belongings, and we'd never want those things stolen. And as we get older, okay, a stick of lipstick suddenly becomes a car or a house or a laptop or, even our pets and our loved ones. And we definitely know that we wouldn't want those things stolen and that we wouldn't steal those things from anyone else as well. So jealousy and envy make us, really want what others have, especially if it's something we've been really longing for. But we don't steal these things from them because we know it's wrong, okay? It's no secret that I've been trying to have a baby for a very long time. As much as I feel jealousy or, longing when I see someone else with their baby, I'm not going to go steal their baby, okay? It's not their baby that I want, it's my baby. And your friend's not going to be friends with you if you take their keys and drive off with their car. That's just not the way it's going to be. We wouldn't be left with any friends if we started doing these things. So fine, we don't steal. That's fine. Okay, I understand. Megan, I get it. Asteya, yep, I'm not going to steal. Stay with me, guys. Just stay with me a little bit longer because I'm going to chat about how it's really not that simple. So Patanjali, who wrote the Yoga Sutras, he's kind of the bad boy of yoga. He is going to set us on our self-righteous asses when he says that basically we're all thieves, that we all steal. So he says that we steal from the environment every day. And if you really take a moment to think about that, that's you can't deny it. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the land that we use, okay, especially, in Canada, and I spent a long time in Australia, all that land's been stolen. It belonged to the Aborigines and it belonged to other people. It didn't belong to us, and we stole it. We all steal from Mother Earth, which is kind of sad because she's the most giving thing in the world. She is the world, and we take from that and we steal from that. So we can't really argue with the fact that we steal from the world. And we obviously have to do this because we need to survive, okay? So yes, Asteya, it becomes, you have to drink water, you have to live where you live, you need land, you need the earth. So instead of looking at it as, okay, I have to have those things, so I'm gonna steal, instead, let's turn it and look at balance, okay? So what we take, think about what we then give, okay? So this idea of giving back is super important. So, maybe not equal. If I drink a glass of water, I'm not going to be able to necessarily give back a glass of water because I can't procure water. I can't make water. If I was a scientist, I might be able to. I don't know. Is that something you can make? I feel like it's not. I feel like it's an element. It's an element, folks. You can't make it. I might be wrong. But, like looking at how we can offset our time on this planet and give back to it. So, how can we live the most fulfilling and caring life? And this is especially, with everything that's happening with Extinction Rebellion, whether you agree with them or not, they're bringing, this idea of climate change and, what we take from the earth to the forefront of a lot of people's mind. And so this idea of how can we offset our carbon footprint. So for me, I've not been, I was at the very beginning of the year, but usually at this point of year, I will have probably been on 3 or 4 flights. My family lives in Canada. There's not much I can do about that. It would take me 2 weeks to get to Canada if I took a boat. So, I usually am on flights. This year I haven't done that. So yes, that's great. My carbon footprint, and probably the world's carbon footprint's a lot less because of the lack of flights, but that's not going to last forever. Okay, so thinking maybe what charities do you give back to? What do you do in terms of your time to give back? Do you volunteer? Do you do, all of these other things that could really be, giving back from what you take? Have you ever planted trees? That's something I've done. I'll do a little blog about my tree planting time. But that made me feel a little bit for quite a while. I planted a shit ton of trees, made me feel like I'd given back. So our yoga practice helps with this notion of Asteya, just like it does with Ahimsa and Satya, okay? It all helps us kind of, Satya, stay hydrated. Yes, Kim. So, when we're in yoga, as we're moving through the postures, we're analyzing, we're self-assessing, and we're questioning ourselves, our minds, and our bodies. So it's that kind of critical thinking that we can then take off the mat as well. So how do we take this analyzing, this awareness of not only our body, but the kind of bigger world into the morals and the choices that we make? So thinking about how we cannot steal and how we can give back. So let's bring it back to this idea of non-stealing. And I want you to think, I'm going to talk about some things and kind of make you realize how much you probably do steal and then how we can bring that back into balance. So have you ever stolen Wi-Fi? Have you ever, jumped on someone else's Wi-Fi that they're paying for and taken that? Chances are you probably have. I've 100% been guilty for that. I do know where there's some secret spots where there is places that I can jump on a Wi-Fi. It's not the best Wi-Fi and I probably shouldn't do it. But I'm definitely guilty of doing that in the past. Have you ever gone to someone's house? I mean, this doesn't so much matter anymore, but back when there was lots of landlines, go to someone's house and make a long distance phone call. That's definitely aging me. But how many of you actually pay for your Netflix account? How many of you are using someone else's Netflix? How many of you are watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills on your own HeyU account? Or how many of you are logged on to someone else's? Okay, so you might be like, oh, but they're just big corporations. They've got loads of money. But still, those actions are, hi Harry, those actions are, they're stealing, and that's not helping us live in an Asteya kind of life. What about time? This is a big one, and it's like one of my biggest bugbears. How often do you steal other people's time? Okay, being late, it's one of like the things that gives me proper anxiety. If I think I'm going to be late, I literally lose my mind. Leaving late. Okay, so you've got to be somewhere, but you take your time and you're not in a big rush, and you always are that person that leaves late. Or something as simple as, not simple, as terrible as not showing up. Yeah, hands up. I think you're all raising your hands because you've done this stuff before. But yeah, just, like the worst of all, just completely not showing up. We all hate our time being wasted. Okay. I used to be a teacher and there were meetings all the time. And it would just drive me mad if this meeting could have been 20 minutes and instead it was an hour long. Or when something's meant to start at 8 and people drip in for 15 minutes and the meeting doesn't start till 8:15. You know, if I'm there on time, I want the meeting to start on time. That's just me. But, you know, time is precious, okay? So it angers us because we cannot get time back. And that's why, you know, when our time is stolen, we get so cross about it. Because we can't get it back. Time is time. So I want you to just take a moment and just think about, you know, whose time have you stolen? And, you know, how can you live your life in a way where you're not taking people's time all the time? Things like just arriving on time, finishing meetings on time. And this one, which I think, you know, with social media and with phones, we're all guilty of being flaky. It's so easy to just pick up the phone and say, do you know what? I'm really not feeling it. And, you know, we've all got a collection of excuses that we can use. Instead of making plans that you're pretty sure you don't want to do, don't make them. Just say, do you know what? That's not what I want to do. Rather than, you know, telling someone you're going to show up. So they make plans for that. They, you know, rearrange their schedule and then you just decide not to come. I guarantee we've all done this in the past. We think that we're being nice by, you know, saying that we want to do that, but actually we're lying, which is Asteya. And then what we end up doing is wasting time. We're stealing time from people. So I think time and stealing couldn't be more poignant right now. And I'm just going to bring this back to like a really, really tangible thing. And this is the fact that restaurants and small businesses right now, they have so much less space and capacity for customers. So when you book a table at your favorite restaurant, when you book a spot at the gym, when you book a yoga mat at your favorite yoga studio, and then you cancel last minute, or even worse, you just don't show up, you are stealing not only that business's time, but their revenue, because it means that they're not able to fill that space and that they've turned other people away. So you're not only stealing that business, but you're also stealing whoever else might have had that experience. And, you know, it's heightened a lot because of COVID and because of everybody's struggling. But these small things, these are all kind of the morals of yoga, and they can be contextualized so easily in how we kind of behave in our lives. So it has a ripple effect. Everything that we do has this endless ripple effect. And all of the yamas, they really connect within each other. So another thing that's quite interesting to look at is how our time is affected. So we know we don't want our time stolen, but then what about how that time is used? So I want you to think about the people you spend time with, okay? And how do they affect your time? Do they have a positive influence or a negative influence on your time, okay? It's not a comfortable task to do. It's really uncomfortable. And I really sat down with this about a year ago when I read Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning. So he sort of says, think about all your friends and your family, all the people that you spend time with, and it might even be colleagues or employees. And he says you want to put them into 3 categories, okay? Category 1 is not the good one. So category 1 is those who drain and affect your time negatively, okay? Not a comfortable category to put people in. You probably know, and you can probably think of maybe 2 or 3 people right away who have this effect on your time. Category 2 is neutral, okay? They're neither negative nor positive. They're just there. And then category 3, these are your zingling friends, okay? So these are the people who, you know, they show up, they build you up, they make you feel great, they like leave you feeling excited and energized. So you want to make this list, be it in your head or on paper. Just make sure you get rid of that piece of paper so no one ever finds it. I literally ripped mine up and put it in the bin after. Because category 1 isn't comfortable, okay? It's not nice to do. You won't necessarily feel like a good person doing it, but this is Satya, this non-lying, so being truthful. What you do with your category 1 people is up to you, okay? Hal Elrod would say, spend less time with these people, or completely try to phase them out, because they're not doing anything good for you. They're wasting your time and they're negatively impacting your time. So how can we take this idea of Asteya, non-stealing, and time to the mat and to our yoga practice? okay? So I think first of all, we just need to recognize those who get to practice yoga, that we are lucky to be able to carve out this time for self-practice, okay? You know, there's probably millions of people around the world who can't practice. And I don't just mean like going to a yoga studio. That's like a super luxury to be able to go to a yoga studio. But also if you've got some space in your house, if you've got that time, that's precious and we need to respect that time, okay? So use it wisely. Use this time to focus on your breath, your postures, your mind. You know, you've carved out that time. It's important. Try to keep the buzzing of what's happening in your life to the side. Now, that's what your yoga practice is working on. It's quieting the chitter chatter of the brain. You know, keep as much of it, of the buzz of your day to day, as much to the side as you can. Okay? This takes time. It's part of your yoga practice. But being conscious of the fact that you have this time, you don't want to have this time stolen from you. Somebody walked in while you were doing a yoga class, okay? If you were at a yoga studio and the cleaners all of a sudden showed up, like, you'd be livid. That's your time that you've also paid for. So it takes time to practice quieting the mind. And so, you know how worth it that is. So if we quiet the body and the mind in our practice, we will gain so much from it. So I'm just going to wrap up with a few quotes and then, hopefully it all gets contextualized. But Albert Einstein put it so clearly when he linked this idea. I mean, he obviously wasn't talking about Asteya in the yogic sense, but talking about stealing, and he linked it all to science. And I just think we can't really argue with science. I can't. And he said that everything is energy. Okay? Everything is energy, and that's all that there is to it. And that we want to match the frequency of the reality you want with what is happening with that energy, okay? And there's no other way. So if you want to have a positive life, you want to match that with the energy of the world. So if you want a positive life, but then you're throwing rubbish on the floor and, you're not thinking about what you put in your mouth and how you eat and how you live, then they're not going to link up. Okay? And he basically puts this down to physics. And I think Hannah Whittingham, also the author of Greed, Sex and Intention, says, I don't believe in God, but I believe in energy in the universe. And I wholeheartedly agree. I am not a religious person. I wasn't brought up that way, but I do believe in an energy of the universe. And if we are constantly putting like negative things into the universe, if you're constantly showing up late, if you're constantly canceling plans, if you're not respecting your time on your yoga mat, then that's going to have a negative impact on the energy that's kind of buzzing around you. And people are going to kind of give that back to you because that's what you're sort of putting out there. So it's just going to get reflected back to you. So I can't agree with, Einstein and Hannah more in that there is this energy and that we need to match the energy that we want to get back. Okay. So whatever we take, we must then give back. This is yin and yang. This is yoga. This is, everything that we've been talking about. This is push and pull. This is ebb and flow. This rhythm of the universe. Okay. And so non-stealing Asteya comes back to this living your life in balance. And I cannot stress that enough. Everything of the yamas comes back to this living your life in balance. And we need to recognize this, that if, we steal from the universe, we steal time, we steal from the earth, then we have to look at our impact in what we're giving back. And this all comes back to intention. Okay. Everything that we do, every way that we act, we need to think back to the intention of those actions. And it takes work. Okay. It could be draining. And I'm not saying that every single thing that you do, you need to be like, right, that's immoral. I have to stand by it. But if we slowly start to infiltrate, the actions that we do and how we speak and how we behave with these positive intentions, then we're going to really start to meet and match this positive frequency of energy and bring our lives back into this idea of balance. So I hope that wasn't too overwhelming. So this idea of non-stealing, Wi-Fi, time, your yoga practice, the people that you spend time with, this all comes back to Asteya. So next week, I'm going to talk about another yama, kind of contextualize a little bit more. If you guys have any questions, if you disagree with anything I said, or if there's anything interesting that you want to add, please don't hesitate. Just send a little comment. And I go live in my Facebook group every week as well. It's Yoga with Megan. Sending you lots of love on this drainy, drizzly day, and I'll speak to you soon. All right. Bye, guys.